many of you are high school teachers here? Can you raise your hand? Oh, wow. Okay, majority. Okay. Middle school? Okay. Elementary? Oh, no. Okay. Well, we all need to know our elementary facts. So, because I can give you a challenge right now that elementary teachers will probably do in a second. So, for example, if I want to show a 1, I'm going to do a lot of math because I'm a mathematician and a computational mathematician. If I want to show a 1, I'm going to represent it by a dot. Right? If I want to show a 2, I'm going to represent it by 2 dots. Okay? If I want to show a 3, I'm going to represent by 3 dots, right? It's not very, you can see the inductive reasoning going on, right? So, how about showing a 0 to me, please? Go ahead, show me a 0. Here's a question that I asked like a high school teacher, a middle school teacher, an elementary school teacher. The elementary school teacher did not even rate. She said, oh, I do this all the time in my classroom. And the high school teacher was writing x equals something. Formulas and all that stuff. I just asked a very simple question. Show me 0. I just show you 1, show you 2. Who wants to tell me how to show a 0? Wow, that became a toughie there. Okay, yes.
We can show it by an X.
X?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. What is that?
It means cancel. You don't have nothing.
X is just a variable and
Yeah.
you can take the
Or a
value
circle.
0.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. How would I teach this to a kindergarten? What's that? Blank paper. And that's the clue. How about just put something around it, right? And we got a blank paper with nothing in it, and there's a 0. Simple as that, right? You see, sometimes the solution is as simple. We don't have to think like a big, Gauss formula or something like that for us, right? So it's something very, very simple that's right in front of us. And that's, sometimes we tend, I'm at George Mason University, but I'm actually on detail at the National Science Foundation. I'm a program director for 2 years. And so I still hold my job at George Mason University. So I actually kind of hold 4 jobs right now. I'm a program director at the National Science Foundation. I'm a professor of mathematical sciences at my department back in George Mason. I direct 2 centers. One of them is called the STEM Accelerator Center, which is a center which works with, so it's a consortium in Northern Virginia, several industries, several school districts, lots of partnerships, and our focus is very specific to engage students in STEM and at all levels, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And then my favorite center is a 4th one, which is called the Complete Center. It stands for the Center for Outreach in Mathematics, Professional Learning, and Educational Technology. I try to coin everything or something. So it's the Complete Center. Okay, so that center brings close to 500 teachers every summer. Through I don't know if I recognize anybody in this crowd, but we bring about 500 teachers through our center at all levels, K-12, and we have programs at different levels. K-2, we teach number sense, okay, building number sense. That's how we build the 0, okay? And then middle school is focusing on proportional reasoning and rational numbers. High school is focusing on STEM into the classroom. Okay? So I'm going to be focusing a little bit on the technology aspects. I'm a mathematician by training, and I got but my bachelor's is in electrical engineering. Okay? My master's is in mathematics, both degrees from India. And then I came to the US, University of Maryland. I finished my Ph.D. in applied mathematics. I had no idea in India that you could actually apply mathematics. So that's why I said, okay, I'm going to see what this really means. Okay, so I took it as a challenge. I finished my Ph.D. in applied mathematics. And it was great because I actually saw that you could apply formulas to solve some real world problems and all that. But I was sitting in my own graduate office and I was writing computer programs, and I had formulas to verify, and I derived formulas, and I wrote computer codes, and then I said, I solved a real world problem. But I had never seen that problem. And the problem was building an aircraft. That's what I was working on. And how do you build an aircraft? So just to give you, in simple terms, what my PhD problem was, if you build the fuselage, I build the wing, and someone else builds the tail, and we all give it to her, and she builds the flight, would you fly in that plane, right? So that was the whole problem, and that boiled down to you have your own meshing, I have my own design. How do you bring this all together? And then there's fluid around it, there's structure. So it was fluid structure interaction. So I'm not going to go into more details, but that was what my PhD was. It was cool because I derived some really great results, published it, and all that. But then I started asking myself, what was the real world problem I worked on? I couldn't touch it or feel it. I just did it, And so then I had lots of options to go to different places. And then I said, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to do my postdoctoral work at Texas A&M in bioengineering. So I took a position there. So I went to biomedical engineering as a faculty there. And so I'm sitting in this lab with, I'm a mathematician looking for, I don't know what to do. And then the next door, there's about 17 people coming and going, all undergraduates, graduate students, high school students. Sometimes even middle school students will show up and they'll be doing some experiments. And they'll collect data. And I would just watch them, how they take eggs, chicken hearts, and it's just so precise. And I said, there's no way I can learn that, right? But then they would have this cool technology that will actually say they'll take these chicken hearts, they'll put these markers on it, and then they'll do these biaxial experiments, and they'll see where the marker moves. And guess what? Once they know where the marker moves, as in the tissue stretches, then they give me the data. Once they give me the data, I feel like I'm God, because I'm going to do the mathematics and all that and tell them something about the data. It's like something is goofy in the data or something is interesting in the data. So when I give them back the data, they can actually tell whether the tissue was ruptured, and the tissue was the tissue of an aneurysm in the brain, okay, that was shipped within 24 to 48 hours. Now talk about, so we want to know if the patient died of a ruptured aneurysm, and if so, could we have prevented it long time back? And that is the type of problem. That's when I really, it opened my eyes to a real world problem. Because, mathematicians can sit in a room and do, whatever they want, prove the Riemann hypothesis or whatever it is. So, but then when you really do something, and even then I didn't feel like I did a real world problem. I did a problem, but the aneurysm was shipped right after the patient's, death, and we wanted to find out, the family was interested whether we could have prevented this earlier and things like that. So you could tell by doing experiments and some technology that this is possible. So give an example of how technology can be used in research. So I do speak for the USA Science and Engineering Festival, which of course attracts about 750,000 people to Washington Convention Center. Why I put this there is, of course, you have much cooler speakers like Mythbusters and Bill the Science Guy and all that. But the thing is, my goal was I was asked to talk about making math cool. This is what I do, and and how do you bring this into the classroom so that the kids get excited? So you're seeing actually teachers from different schools that are working together. I saw somebody from Edison. There's a faculty from Edison. There's from Longfellow, middle school teachers, high school teachers working together, and there's people from Prince William County here, teachers and high school teachers. These are middle school teachers working together on a classroom lesson plan. They're actually going to be implementing that as what is called as a lesson study. So those are things that, what was interesting about these cards is, last year at the USA Science and Engineering Festival, what they decided to do was they took these nifty speakers list and they asked us to give them some input, like, what do I like, what's my favorite quote, and all that stuff. And then they made these cards, like baseball cards. So we became celebrities. So, so they asked the kids to trade cards and said, if you collect so many cards, you will win, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it was pretty cool. To see like kids actually, but the only thing is when they trade a card, they need to find out who this guy is, what do they do, why does, what's the code, like things like that. So I would have some random kid coming to me saying, oh, you're the math guy. I'm like, okay. So it's very interesting that the message gets spread out, and this is social networking, right? So essentially. So I want to give you a flavor for some practices that I bring, how do you enhance your pedagogical practices? You're all expert teachers, but what else can we do in the classroom? But I always prepare like 100 slides, but let's see how fast we can go. So this is the center that I direct, and we're fortunate to receive the Governor's Award for 2 years in a row, and essentially it is to do 4 goals, recruitment, retention, retaining, making sure that they graduate in STEM. I don't want them to be in the university all the time. So, and then they get into the STEM workforce. This is why I asked that question is, as we are preparing them in STEM, when they go to the other side, are they well prepared? So when they see Sean, are they coming in like, oh, I know exactly how to solve the problem, or where is there a gap in there? This is a big concern actually. So so how do we prepare these kids early ahead? So everything from programs, peer-to-peer mentoring programs to high school programs. I mentored several students that went to RSI, and they did extremely well. And also working with faculty, and my favorite is teachers. I have lots and lots of programs working with teachers, and National Science Foundation is great because they give me 1 day off every week to work on whatever I want, like my research, my favorite topic. So it's 50 days. So I kind of piece my time between other jobs these 2 years. And then I also serve the National Academy of Sciences for Mathematics Instruction, so which allows me to work with lots of countries. So I study a lot of countries and their curriculum and all that stuff. And I talk more about this in my TEDx talk. So if you have a chance, you're welcome to go up and look me up and all that. So, but so this is a big organization that works on several things, and I have a good bunch of faculty that work with me on various initiatives and all that. So for example, July 11th through 15th, I'll be having this initiative going on. This is, it's called Focus, Females of Color Underrepresented STEM. These are middle school girls. This is last year, 75 of them. But this year is going to be 100. We have 200. We couldn't take everybody. So, but the thing is, it started with 18 girls. It goes to, it went to 75. What are they going to do in a week? Well, this is what they're going to be doing. It's a day of S, science, day of technology, day of engineering, day of mathematics. And the last day they do presentations. And we have a panel, esteemed panel of distinguished women that come and judge these things and all that. And they build a robot every day. They learn the science of the robot, technology of the robot, engineering, the math, and then they actually get to take this. Last year it was the sea perch, and then they had a competition in the swimming pool. I mean, we booked the aquatic center, and they had competition between teams and all that. You're seeing these, and then of course they do their 3D printing. We have, we have to split them in groups, and each one. So on the day of technology, math, here's drones. We have people actually building drones. The girls build drones, actual drones. And here's somebody, my forensic science faculty teaching a software called Faces, which actually recognizes, with clues, you say, the mustache is this much, the ice is going like this, and you can reconstruct a face, basically. It's a free software. It's to get kids excited about forensic science, for example. So it's a program, chemistry, biology. So, it's an interesting program at Mason, 11th through 15th, and, it's, now we have successfully gotten funding for this, to continue this program, but we would be, there's a demand for increase. This is a 1-week program. Other programs that I work with is programs at elementary level. Think about if I give you like a bamboo skewer and say, tell me the height of the tree. So here's the thing that I wanted to ask, related to the question. If I give you a bamboo skewer and ask you to find the height of the tree, it's a much more challenging problem than if I teach you similar triangles and say, oh, okay, this to this is as this to this. I mean, if you say the whole thing, what's the point of these kids going and trying something? When they'll go to Sean and then they'll be like, wait, I know similar triangles. What can I use similar triangles for? Sean is going to say, no, here's the problem, okay? Find out which technology tool or math tool you're going to use. And that's where this is where I think the teaching and the learning gap is. And so this is where, so this is more engaging kids, but this is actually getting teachers working with me on professional development, and then they go into the classrooms and we try to actually assess how the kids are learning better by doing different things. And of course, I'm very picky about publishing these things also. So with teachers, these are journal papers in the National Council for Teachers in Mathematics, so seen by thousands and thousands of people in the world. So the teachers become famous also through this. Okay, so, and of course in the high school grades, I'm going to tell you a story about this. I had a bunch of high school teachers. This is at that time he was the chair of Edison, so the person from Edison may recognize him. And then of course these teachers take this back to the classroom as what is called as lesson study. This is somebody at Arlington. And then get students excited. Here's a class on quadratic equations. They are actually building catapults. And they are not telling what they are learning, but they are building catapults. And then they're talking about this top point, this, called the vertex. And then they are actually, I bring another interesting thing. I bring a high school teacher in physics and a high school teacher in mathematics and make them sit together and ask them to talk about the math teacher to talk about the physics and the physics teacher to talk about the math. And they hate that. Okay, so what I mean is both of them are teaching projectile motion, right? The physics teacher is saying, oh, the velocity, the acceleration, and blah, 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 and all these things. And the math teacher is saying the horizontal range, the vertical range, the vertex, and the... Wait a minute, you guys are talking the exact same thing, okay? I'm looking at you guys talking and you're saying the exact same thing, but you're pretending you're teaching physics, you're pretending you're teaching mathematics. Why can't you talk about the physics and why can't you talk about the mathematics? Make things interesting. Okay, so this is exactly the point, and so this is called design thinking, by the way. So I have another course called design thinking, and which is basically human-centered approach to teaching, and which is if I and Mehmet here were to build a wallet, he needs to build a wallet that I like, and I need to build a wallet that you like. And what ends up happening is we, keep negotiating and finally build a wallet that we both like, and that's the type of teaching and learning thing that should happen. Of course, these are two students. This guy went to, both of them are at MIT second year. This guy went to RSI. And the interesting thing is I also publish with these high school students. That's the other cool thing is I love publishing with high school students in top journals that faculty have, tough time getting in. So but these kids are phenomenal and to work with, and they crack some really good problems and all that. So on the global side, I actually engage students in a lot of global problems. This is in Africa, so I actually have a dual position in the Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology. I go there every summer, not this summer, because I have to go to Ecuador instead. But then, so here's the first group of, so I actually managed to get, this is when I was a faculty, a grant through the National Science Foundation called PEER, Partnership for Enhanced Engagement in Research, which actually gives money to the host country, so it was Tanzania. And what it allowed to do is that a country that produces 2 to 3 PhDs, it helps to produce about 20 PhDs in 3 years. Okay, so this is the, and what did they work on? Something really cool. They opened my eyes as a faculty. In the United States, the students are really good. When they come to PhD, they come and ask me questions like, oh, I read this paper, can I improve this result? Can I write a code that is faster, cheaper, and more accurate? Can I write, so the thinking of the students in this country, in developed countries, is always to make something better than someone else, right? When I go here, it's interesting. This kid comes to me and says, he wants to do a math project. He comes to me and says, I want to stop corruption. This is how he starts. I say, okay. What corruption do you want to stop? He says, I want to stop the corruption of kerosene and petrol. What do? Like kerosene is, petrol is the gas that they use. And somebody comes in the night, the gas station owners fill kerosene. So the thing becomes really bad, right? So when you drive your car there, it's so bad that your engine is going to go bad. So what did I end up doing? I had a master's thesis student I worked with, and I actually collected 5 of these students. Thanks to Skype. Every Thursday I would be on Skype with these 5 students in a room, and I would talk to them about their projects and all that. So this guy's project was to come up with something called a device that actually, it's an optimal control theory, but he put this device and it measured opacity, which is the ratio of kerosene to petrol. He would go and, he would get permission from the government. It's really fun research because it's all secretive research, right? The government of Tanzania will say, okay, go put these devices in these gas stations. And then we put these in the gas stations, and then the device will have a display. And the display will say, I am pure, if the ratio is okay. Otherwise, it will say, I am adulterated. And then it will send the message to the Tanzanian system, and then they'll go catch those guys. So it's very interesting. I've never done a master's thesis where, cops come. Okay? So, and this kid comes to me and says, this is his mathematics project. I want to build schools. I'm like, okay. How do I even turn this into a math problem? And so he says, I want to build schools, and I keep talking. So the whole idea is to negotiate, keep talking, and then he says, I want to build schools, and I ask him why. He says, right now, every classroom has about 120 kids, and there's one teacher, and so I would like to come up with something that will tell me. So we keep talking, and then we end up finding that Tanzania does not maintain a registration database. I was surprised they don't have an accurate one. And so, like Sean said, sub-Saharan Africa. Believe it or not, the number of cell phones is so much. They may not have all the resources, but everybody has 2 cell phones at least. Okay, so what do we end up doing? Well, his thesis was basically, he took Tanzania, he divided into zones. In each of the zones, we identified districts. In each of the districts, we identified nurses who carried 1 or 2 cell phones. And what was the job of the nurse? The nurse would say, today, 2 boys and 1 girl was born. And then 3 people died. These are their ages. And they do an SMS. They text it. These texts go to a central database, which runs a MATLAB code that this kid wrote, and it tells them, it's a predictive model. Basically tells them, okay, we just reached a cap for the number of students, let's build another school. They didn't have the system, but this was his master's thesis. Why am I telling you this? I've directed so many students, I can't even keep track of the number of students, but the students in the United States are always trying to come up with some cool thing that will change the world. But in their view, the changing the world is like improving a result by, one processor faster, or something really cool. I can show some nice graphs and say, look, mine is going down better than yours. And it's great. I mean, I'm completely okay because that's important research. These guys are telling me problems from their heart. It's not like a joke. I mean, these guys want to change something in their country. Well, how do we use STEM to do it? And this has been a challenge for me for the last few years because I am used to training students the traditional way. This put me in this framework of like, oh my God, this is a challenge to me. So every single problem they posed was a hard problem, but I had to turn it into something interesting and then turn it back into a master's thesis. So I can go on with stories. For example, this is a school. I didn't even realize I was giving a talk at the school. It's called the Maasai Girls' School. And I go to the school and I sign the visitor's log and I see 2 pages before it's President Bush. I'm like, okay, 3 months back I saw it on CNN. This is not this year, like a few years back. Bush is visiting this country, this school, and it's on CNN. Of course, when they showed on CNN, the school is all clean and everything is like very nice and all that stuff. This President Bush is visiting the school. So I go to the school, I'm not that important. So, the school was in the status quo. So I go inside and, but what was interesting about this is the head of the department says, oh, these girls, they are abducted. I'm like, okay, what do you mean abducted? Oh, these are Maasai tribe girls, and when they come of age, they are, the parents are getting ready to get them married because they get cows, in return, 40 cows for a girl. Okay, so then if the girl says, I want to study in 6th grade or something like that, they'll immediately get her married. This is the big thing in Maasai tribes. Okay, so here's the story, right? And the Sean will like it because it's all cybersecurity, right? Tanzania government have spies in these villages. And when a girl wants to study and the parents are starting to talk on getting them married, there's a van that suddenly comes like a movie and kidnaps the girl. Okay? And who does that? The Tanzanian government. I'm like, isn't that illegal? They said, we take this girl, we provide shelter, and it's amazing. Some of these girls have come to Harvard, MIT. It's not. I went and gave a talk, and I thought like, wow. The first thing I did all this PowerPoint. I go inside and I'm trying to, give my slides. The first thing that happens, power goes off. I'm not even thinking, right? So power goes off. I'm like, okay, what should I do now? And immediately this girl runs outside. She pulls this thing where she had some books and the clothes and all that stuff. She prepares like a cloth string and she puts like a poster paper that I had, and she says, oh, here's your board, go ahead, start writing. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. So it's called problem solving. Okay, so which we are not that good at, because we're not seeing the real world. So I started taking this as a challenge, and I said, more and more United States students and students that are the developed world must really see the problem and then take the problem and try to see solutions. Because we are good at coming up with solutions, but solutions to the problem, right? So that became a challenge. So here's what I did last summer. I took 3 students from Princeton University. I had one high school student, and one from Mason, one from Puerto Rico. They came with me to Africa. We went to study this problem, poaching. How do we stop poaching? Well, of course, we put our thinking hats, like trained in the United States, and says, okay, we know exactly how to solve. I put a bunch of students together and say, let's brainstorm and come up with a solution. This is before we went to Africa, right? And so everybody is saying, oh yeah, we got the solution. It's a drone. Okay, what should we do with the drone? Well, we can actually take the drone, and we can fly the drone in the different fields. Actually, we went and gave workshops on this to Africa. This is the same student that did the kerosene adulteration, and we taught them how to build a drone. And this is the chancellor who's proposed to the vice president of Tanzania. So, and then we also did a workshop, on STEM, getting about 1,000 students, and all these kids that I brought, they actually stood and pretty much presented different things to the students and all that. So it was like a small fair. And then we talked about all these different cool things about the drone. And then I give a workshop to the faculty of Nelson Mandela. They all sit and then say, okay, this is the solution, the drone. Okay, and the first thing one guy in the thing says, what if the poacher is just going to shoot the drone? We don't think about it, okay? And second one, he says, if the place can only hold 200,000 elephants, and if you have like 250,000 elephants, what's the point of 50,000 elephants? They are a problem in that place, so why don't we just kill them? At least they have meat and blood and all these things. I'm looking at the students and saying, wait a minute, did we do the empathy? Did we do the empathy with the right people? We went and talked to a bunch of people in the United States and asked them about a drone problem, a poaching problem in Africa. This is one of our biggest mistakes. We do all our stuff here, and then we try to go and solve a problem in another country. Okay? But the important thing is, first step, empathy needs to be done with the local people. And then once you do the empathy, then we got to define a bunch of problems and figure out which problem we want to attack. And then we got to figure out, ideate solutions, and then we want to figure out which solution we want to go after. And then we want to prototype it, and then we want to test it. This philosophy is called design thinking. Okay? And this leads to, of course, innovation and creativity. And but we came back, and I didn't want to disappoint the students. We said, okay, it's great. You want to do your research project, undergraduate research project. One student, believe it or not, this drone is coming out. It's the mosquito drone, and it is. I'm going to be talking about this next week in Ecuador, and it does everything that a drone can do. Okay, so I can't tell you any more than I'm still an academician, so I can talk a lot. So, but you're talking about. I go for the good uses of drone. Like, for example, can I have a farmer not go all the way in the thing and find out which tomato plant is actually bad? What if I send the drone and actually have sensors on it, and the drone can actually see which crop is actually different color, and it can actually sense which plant, and I can just open and actually throw the fertilizer or something like that. Or if the drone can actually, Virginia Tech, for example, and I'm actually developing something right now, is a drone that captures methane that is released in the atmosphere at different levels, and then how it impacts global warming. That's currently my undergraduate student who's working on their undergraduate research at Mason. I thought this research was cool in Virginia Tech. They find the life of whales. So the whales are, they spurt out something. So the drones are right on top of the whales, and based on spurting out something, if you put a petri dish right there, and once you have that everything that you capture, you take it to the lab. It's cool technology, right? You tell everything about the whale, everything about the whale. And it's amazing how the technology is going on. So of course, I'm going to skip these slides. I had to give a nice problem to my students. So one student worked on mechanics. I'm not going to talk about this, but he wrote all these Newton's laws and all that stuff, and he did his undergraduate research. Came out good. Another student said, I want to do probability, and so I said, okay, let's see if the drone is actually watching a cat or a poacher or a ranger. And then, she comes up with all sorts of interesting formulas, and then, so the two students that I did work with, they did really well, and guess what? They presented their work at the White House, and they were at the posters on the Hill, and they did all sorts of things. It became very popular. We are publishing this work and all that stuff. So it's all great, but still, the impact part is still there, right? Because then we did this final thing, because there were some rangers who were supposed to help us. And so I'm looking at, on the day we were leaving, I was wondering, why are these two rangers not showing up to any of our meetings? And then we find out 62% of the poachers are rangers. Empathy. Okay, so if you don't do empathy, and the same thing, it's not that great, right? So now I have no idea how much time I have.
About 20 minutes.
Okay, So we are trying to transition from, I'm going to speak fast so that I can tell you a lot of things. So, we're trying to transition from an industrial age, which was very procedural, very traditional, very repeating, everything is repeating, to something that is completely abstract, completely teamwork, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking. All these are fundamental skills, 21st century skills, right? So we are going from a teacher-directed to a learner-centered. We are actually changing the classrooms to doing that. So it's not like lecture-based calculus like this anymore, but it's more like the teacher is in the center, and the students are all around you, and and the students are doing flipped classrooms where they go look at a video, come back in, and things like that. So everything is kind of changing. It's all on demand. That's what is happening right now. It's not like let me do quadratic equations tomorrow. Then I will do, finding the roots. We don't do it this way. It has to happen naturally, organically in the classroom, and that's what. So it's more about learning for life rather than learning for school. I'm actually working with the National Academy of Engineering and Fairfax County, which that project has passed, is to hopefully build the high school of the future. What's that about? Well, National Academy of Sciences and Engineering actually came up with 14 grand challenges. And each of those challenges, like the brain, reverse engineering the brain, water management. So imagine if a high school student walks to you and, you could be the parent or you could be the teacher and say, what are you doing this semester? Oh, I'm doing algebra 2, blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm hearing actually, right? So, but what if the student is saying, oh, this unit I'm doing water, solar, and brain. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Is that your course? Yeah, that's my course. So imagine a curriculum where the student is actually doing water, brain, and solar as the semester project. And inside each one of them is a curriculum that's developed where it teaches the technology, the mathematics, the physics, the chemistry. Well, we are just ready to do that, and this will be soon called the High School of the Future. It's coming. We don't have anything ready yet, but those of you that are interested, you are welcome to talk to me. So where are we all going? Well, we all want to engage them in lifelong learning skills, right? So creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication, and things like that. So let me start off with how I teach in my classroom with technology, right? So I go into a classroom, and I don't, I want to start off my classroom so that I don't want some people to sleep after, I want to wake them up because they're already on their cell phones or something like that. So I want to wake them up. So what do? I usually ask them a quiz. Okay, here's 2 minutes for you. Go for it. Tell me all the movies that you see on screen. Go ahead. You can talk to your neighbors. 2 minutes. I see. Okay, I see some familiar faces here.
Exorcist.
Come on. 30 seconds over. Let's see which table gets the most, okay? It's a competition now, so go for it, okay? Go ahead, work as a team, work as a team.
First was the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Is that an eye? This is a horrible eye chart.
Okay, you have 30 seconds now. Colorblind, okay. That's a good reason actually. So I'll make a special slide for you. Okay, okay, it's time. Okay, so here's what happened, right? I started this classroom. I have a goal today. I want to teach you at least 10 different mathematical terms. That's my goal. But I can wake up anybody in this classroom. How do I do that? Well, I just ask you, what is this? Well, I'm teaching algebra 2. This would be a matrix, right? The array of rows and columns, the matrix, the movie The Matrix, right? So, of course, this is pi, and then because so it's the American pi, this would be what? Well, this, of course, at least you should say it's sine waves, right? So sine, but there's lots of them, so it's the sines, right? Night shower is second will be after 6 cents, okay? Of course, sorry for all the women in the classroom, this would be taking the average, and this would be, average is also called mean, so it's mean girls, okay? So, this would be 1609344. Of course, I'm trying to teach proportional reasoning and noticing that that is a mile, but it's in green, so it's a green mile, okay? So, of course, this is the I, which is in golden, so that's the golden eye. Of course, this would be the sum of all fears, right? This would be what? This, in notation, computer science language, is called the floor. So it's the 13th floor, okay? It's the floor of a number or the ceiling of a number, right? So this would be the 13th floor. Of course, this lady here guessed it's an X or cis. I'm teaching OR. the symbol OR. In 2 minutes, I'm able to actually talk about all these math lingos to the students, and they're going with, oh, I know this symbol, I know that, I know this is a set. What is this? Of course, this is sine waves, and there's a city under it. That's the sin city. Okay, so of course, this will be a network, right, of socially something happening. That's the social network. This is what? When I see 2i plus 1, what would that be? Vectors. There's no simple vectors. 2i plus 1 would be what? If I stick I is equal to 0, it's 1. If I stick an I is equal to 1, it's 3. What is 1, 3, 5, 7, and all that? Just odd numbers, right? But there's 2 of them. That's the odd couple, okay? So, that would be the odd couple. Of course, this lady again figured out that this is a beautiful result in mathematics, and followed by the beast. So that's the beauty and the beast, right? So, and of course, then I noticed that I'm also increasing the complexity in this problem, and I'm saying, oh, wait a minute, this is the heat equation for you, for those of you that recognize partial-differential equations. That would be a challenge, right? But then here I come back to calculus and say ds dt, s is displacement, ds dt is velocity. Then what's the absolute value of that?
Speed.
Speed. Very good. Okay. So and then of course what is this? E. But what's there? There's a wall behind it. It's wall E. So so the thing is, what I wanted to tell you is, in about 2 minutes, I taught you about 15 terms that you may or may not know. Today you're going to walk out with, oh, I see this number, that's E. I see that's the floor. I see this is the symbol for OR. And that's what I want students to learn immediately. Is that clear? You just grab their attention. I just grabbed your attention, didn't I? Okay, but then somebody said E immediately. Who's that? All the high school teachers must say that. And you have E's. You know, pi is okay, 3.1415, whatever it is, 965. And I had a student, let's see, you here. I had Saroja from Padhu Seshaiyer, I see, okay. And so I had Saroja who would recite like, I don't know how many, something like 2,000 something. She's at MIT. And so she was one of my students doing research with me last summer. So, but then you need a story, right? This is technology. But notice what I'm doing. I'm using technology in a very efficient way to teach you a whole lot of things in a short time, right? But then I want to teach you E before you leave from here, right? How do I do that? Well, you just need to know 2 things about Andrew Jackson, right? He was the 7th President of the United States. He was elected into office in 1828. I repeat, 1828. Like every mathematician should know. Good mathematician should know. The angles of an isosceles right angle triangle is 45, 90, 45. Like I said, you just need to know 2 things about Andrew Jackson. Okay? You just learn E for the rest of your life. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm engaging students in very simple things, but I'm using technology to doing that, right? So it's just a matter of what I'm doing. PowerPoint. It's all I'm using, okay? But it's just a matter of course, I did this for a camp for grades 3 through 5, and these kids were super excited knowing E, because they all recited pi, and they said, oh, this is a new number that I'm going to learn. But what was interesting was on the last day I was giving these paper plate awards to these kids, and the kids stood up and gave me a t-shirt with the rest of the 30 digits. What they did was they made a story. Andrew Jackson liked 36 ice creams, 4 of them were strawberry, and you know, and he lived in zip code. But beauty was they made a story. We want our students to make a story to what they are learning, right? So, and how many squares do you see? I'm going to do a lot of problems today, okay? So, how many squares do you see? Quickly.
Oh, so many.
A ton. That's a good answer, okay? Many of you. So next time somebody comes and says, I am a very good chess player, stump them with this, okay? Say, okay, how many well, actually the problem is, people sometimes don't read the question. I said, how many squares do you see? Well, yeah, I see, of course. The little guys, I see 64 of them. Yeah, but what about these guys? Right? And what about, you know, those are 7 of them, right? So there's 7 this way, 7 this way. So you got 8 little ones, 8 squared, then 7 squared. And then you say, wait a minute, what about these guys? There's 6 of them, 6 squared. Wait a minute, am I getting 8 squared plus 7 squared plus 6 squared? Are you telling me that I can actually use the formula for 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 3 squared all the way to n squared, which is n times n plus 1 times 2, n plus 1 divided by 6. You teach that for no reason. Now you can teach that with the purpose saying, oh, next time count the number of squares in your chessboard. Guess what? When I teach you mathematical induction to prove 1 squared plus 2 squared all the way to n squared is n times n plus 1 times 2 n plus 1 divided by 6, let's also check this in real life. It is the same chessboard that you're playing with. So what I aroused here is a very important teaching skill, teaching moment called critical thinking. We don't have a lot of opportunities, because we don't have too much time, to actually engage students in critical thinking. This is critical thinking, because they're going to be doing a straightforward thinking. We just made them think inside the box, right? So we have the critical thinking. Okay, so now I change this problem into a geoboard. Now you're becoming smarter. You're saying this guy is going to trick us. Okay, so now he's asking me the number of squares. You're becoming like smart because you know the important tool, critical thinking. And you're going to connect these guys and say, you can't trick me now because I'll connect it and I see 9 of them. I know that if I say 9, you're going to catch me, right? Because it's not 9, correct? Because it's 9 little 1 by 1s, and then what?
Yeah.
Then there's actually 4 more 2 by 2s, right? You're not going to miss this now because you just became a critical thinker, right? But what was lacking was
Diagonal.
now you're starting to go close to the next skill, creativity. Okay? So, this is creativity, but creativity to the core would be these guys.
Nice.
Okay? So, what I just, I'm talking to you about, so when you worked on the first movie thing, you were doing collaboration, communication, and all this stuff, and then we did the critical thinking, now creativity. We just talked about the 4 important critical thinking, 21st century skills. Now, I do have if I have 10 more minutes, if you have cell phones and all that, can you please take your cell phones? Either you can text or you can go to this website here, polev.com. I'm sorry, my name is long, so you'll have to type all this stuff here. PADMANABHANS848. If you can type this in your cell phone, please type it in your cell phone. And I'd like to see if you all go to some website.
Next time you gotta make it QBR.
I should do it. I didn't realize I should have done it. Yeah. So I saw that everybody has a cell phone. Except this has a limit. I got a free account, so How many of you know Pole everywhere? If not, that's great. Okay, that's great. You learned something today. Okay, so let's go there. Did anyone manage to get into that website?
No.
Okay, I'm going to
Says
also.
the display.
I'll give you 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Did anybody become successful?
Yeah, it says you have to.
That's not. I mean, you should see a question. Can you tell me what question do you see? Do you see a question?
No, it says you gotta make it active.
Okay, let me go here. You should really. Where is this? Oh, yeah.
Why do you have to log in?
So yeah, it's activated. Maybe I didn't activate it. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Start writing stuff there, please. Please start writing stuff.
Can
Anything
you
you want.
put the link back, please?
It's right there.
Yes.
Okay, start typing stuff. Anything you want. Oh, somebody typed computer. Who was that? I mean, I'm not. This is the part I don't ask people because it should be anonymous. Number one. What I'm doing right now is an immediate response from students. I could use this. Oh wow, look at that. There's a word cloud being formed. So what I'm doing right now is getting input from you. I could do this after I finish a session, and I'm getting my students to type whatever they want. And what happens is if 2 people type computer or 4 people type computer, that will start to become bigger and bigger. And then that will tell me that's the only concept they learned today. Is that clear? But if I do this beforehand, it's a pre-test for me. I can find out how many people are actually doing it. So start typing whatever you want. Cool. It says it's full because it can only take 40 people. I have the free account. Okay, so sorry. So don't you think it's very powerful? Can you already see that you can use this in your classroom? I do this for graduate school. Because those kids are sleeping all the time. So I have to wake them up and, I have to ask them, what did you learn today, really? I mean, but this is more than that. It tells me if I've done a good job. And if I did a good job, what topics did I do a good job on? Looks like everybody really liked the comment that Sean made on Snapchat. Okay, so everybody remembered Snapchat, right? So, and you're writing Snapchat and Minecraft. I mean, look at the stuff that is coming out. And of course, if you have a account, I don't know how much it costs. It's not too costly actually. It's very inexpensive. If you do that, it's amazing how you can do this as a pre and a post test just like that. I do it with my teachers all the time. Okay, and one tool that you can, and I'm going to probably go back to my talk here. I just
Yes, click on the P at the bottom.
where's that?
The P for PowerPoint right there. Here you go.
Okay, so
Down the lower left, there you go.
okay, so I'm going to take the last few minutes. So e-learning. So of course, I should have made my question more clear. You guys were going for the products. I was going to ask for what are all the procedures. So for example, or procedural name. For example, it used to be in the 1980s. It used to be called CBTs. I don't know how many of you remember this. It used to be just called computer-based training or computer-aided instruction, right? CAD and things like that. And then in the 1990s, when the internet came along, it was called online learning, whatever that meant, right? After that, it was the web-based learning. And then it's technology-based learning, technology-enhanced learning, distance learning. Of course, when you mix flipped classrooms and this thing, then becomes blended learning. So all these mean the same thing, basically. Okay, but it's just sometimes it's abuse of notation, but it uses it in different contexts and all that. So if I've prepared, and I'm going to send this to Natasha, and Natasha can send it out. These are pretty much all the tools. These are all the different software. Everything is free, by the way. I always try to get everything that's free. Blogging, right? One great way to actually get students excited about blogging. There's tons of ways. There's the blogger.com, which you can use. I'm going to show some examples of some of them. Microblogging. Your Twitter is microblogging. We're doing research on Twitter. We are actually asking, you're wondering, don't bring cell phones to the school. We are actually encouraging cell phones now. Saying, when I ask a question, immediately Twitter, use Twitter to tell me what the response is and things like that. And wikis, so there's a great one called PB Wiki, which you can actually, I'm writing this, Google is your friend. Just Google and then find out what you want and all that, okay? Podcasting, have your own podcast, already pre-recorded stuff. You can use so many different ways. These guys will, this is a video log that will allow you to do that. You can use any of these software. Screen capture, if you want to record yourself and actually, have these narrations. If the flipped classroom is based on your own stuff, you could go to Jing, or all these guys are all free. Again, you could actually go and, obviously everything has a paid version, okay? But you just need to, watch these things. Of course, video hosting, YouTube. This is a great one. I work with my teachers on Edthena. What is this? A video coaching tool. Actually, the teachers can actually make videos of how they are teaching. And then other teachers, you can release it to some of their trusted friends, and they can actually comment and say, go through the video and say, this particular thing was very interesting. This was happening in your classroom. I use this as we actually form lesson study teams, and they're expected to do this as a part of the grade, because they get grade from Mason actually. And there's image hosting sites, which you already know. I just told you about Poll Everywhere. This is a great one, Instagraph. These are, I use it for reflection. So when teachers give me reflections back, we can actually use this to find out thematic things in the reflection. So this is for research purposes. Once you've done the IRB, for example, and then if you want to find out what's going on in your class in terms of research, this is something that we can use. And then concept map. Lots of kids know how to make concept maps of different things. Have you used Poplet? Oh, I'll show you just a second. Poplet, okay? It's amazing. And kids can play with Poplet and all that stuff. Digital stories becoming very popular. Elementary grades, even middle school, and storyboard. And I'm going to show you two in just a second. I did this in the country of Suriname, and I had students who were all teachers, by the way. And then grading, your favorite. Actually, there's another one. So if you can go, how many of you know how to do a Google survey? Okay. If you know how to do a Google survey, do you use the one that I have there, Flubaroo? You do, great.
They just came out with a new one.
What's that?
They just came out with a new
They
one.
just came out with a for those of you that don't know this, if you can make a survey, of course, you send it to 100 kids, they're going to click their way and all that stuff, and it populates into an Excel file or something, or a file, right? And then you go through it and say how many people said A's, how many people said, it's very easy. You just send that file to Flubaroo, and it will tell you, it will grade it for you. Everything will grade it for you. It's just amazing. So, and then of course, language for, ELL, and this is a great one because it can actually Duolingo. So you can actually have to type the question, and as you touch the word, it will actually have the different language. You can pick which language you want. There are multiple languages in this one. Okay? And then of course, website. How many of you have a website? Okay, how many of you want to create a website in 1 minute? Okay, let's do it. It's all you need to know is pen.io. Okay, that's all you need to know. Okay, I just don't have. I don't know if internet is here. Oh, it is here. Is it here?
Yeah.
Can I use this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see if I go to pen.io. So there's your, sorry, I'm not, okay, so here's the screen that comes up, and it's asking you, what do you want your page URL to be? Well, I'm going to be like, I'm going to type something, you know, AAA, or something like that. You see, it's saying, oh, the name is already taken. Of course, AAA or something like that, right? So I'm just going to make it AA1, okay? So, and I just created this thing, and my password, what do I want my password to be? Let's say AA. Okay, let's do it. Since we are a TEP, let me just do TEP. And is it taken? Available. Okay, so I'm just going to make a password TEP, for example, and I created a new page. And do you like I know I don't want Firefox to remember, so I'm going to say not now. I hope everybody remembered this, right? So, and it turns out, oh yeah, I didn't. It says, what does it say? I didn't do this 499 thing. Okay, so I'm going to do this again. TEP, and I'm going to say TEP, and I'm saying 499. I'm going to say create new page. No, I don't want to. Okay, that's it. Finished. This is your web page. Okay, I'm going to type my title. I want this is my web page. Okay, and what do you want? That's it. I want to just save this. I'm done. And what do you want to click? Start typing whatever you want. Okay, put pictures in this thing. You just got your web page, and send this link to people. Okay, your favorite web page. I'm going to come out of this. Okay, so what happened to people? Okay, so I'm going to send this to Natasha, so you can.
Yeah, I'll post it on the lab bench so all of you can.
Yeah.
I'll post it on the lab bench so all of you can access
So,
it.
can I take 5 more minutes, please? 5 more minutes?
Yes.
Sorry.
Still like it.
Okay, so I don't know if you know about this website, print websites. How many of you seen websites and then you want to take that content and modify the content without the ads and all that stuff? But I'd like to just think this is fantastic, print friendly. You can actually just take the URL of the website and send it to print friendly. It will give you the exact website, almost like you can take off stuff that you don't want and all this stuff, and you can quote stuff. Great for the classroom. Okay. So ToonDo. What is ToonDo? I love this with I did this middle school and elementary school teachers. It's just toondo.com. You go there. It's so easy to just, you have already, you can get a free account. It looks like this, and then once you get a free account, you can actually create your own book with story, right? So it looks like this. So for example, there's pictures for doors, the girl, the table, and you can make up stuff, and then this is it. This is the story, a small story. So I have kids make stories, okay, and of course you can make it much more interesting and all that stuff, and bring physics in. I talk about Newton's laws and all that stuff. But what are you doing here? You're making the kids do it. You're not preparing. You're just giving them the website, telling them how to create it. They will do it and learn the concept. Okay, so Poplet, fantastic tool. You just go to Poplet. You want to learn about the Earth. You can put the Earth in the center, and it's a part of a planet, and then you can go for, it is a planet. Okay, so part of the solar system and all these different things, right? So you can, it's iPad friendly and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up with my last few slides. We are actually going from a phase where we used to involve some dynamic presentation, like obviously we don't see these. Is that the overhead projector or something? Okay, well maybe not. So you can put those things, the slides, remember the slides you can show and all this stuff. We are trying to move away from, teachers using their own multimedia, PowerPoint, Prezi, everything, and, smart boards. This is given way to, so this is kind of phase one, right? Anything that captures student attention with light. Sorry, so if you're colorblind, so not sure. But then we are trying to move from phase one to phase two. So how do you implement technology? Well, you want the students to have access to the technology. You want the textbooks, the textbooks are getting quickly replaced by electronic information. The technology, use them to access the content knowledge, basically. And you want that to happen, and the outcome may be a paper or a report, whatever you want. And so you could do this using web searches and all that. I think I have about 100 more slides, but I'm going to quickly stop here. So I just realized I'm not even halfway through. So, the whole idea is you also want to build in differentiated instruction. So, for example, content. What exactly to teach? How to teach it? And then what kind of products do you want out of this, right? So, and so there is this what teachers prepare and then what the students engage on. So again, the content, process, and product, and the students are going for the readiness, the interest, and their profile. And so what I'm going to do is I'll send you this, but I will be respectful of the time and just go to this one. So we're going from a phase to teachers as actually I had this one. Okay. So we are going from teachers and teaching, where we want to incorporate 21st century skills into the classroom with technology, but we have to respect the fact that students are actually becoming producers of information. They're not consumers anymore. Okay? Please, I'm sure everybody's already noticing this. They are always one step ahead of us. So, so we want to make sure that, I'm going to skip this thing. So students are actually producers of information. So the question is, as a teacher, how can I get them to engage in something and create a product? And in that course, they're also learning what you're going to be teaching. So there's so many different ways to doing this. So, so the students as three things: as producers, as publishers, and as peer reviewers. You want these students to learn from other students. So these are three important things that is happening, right? So there is a big paradigm shift that is happening, and so in the student engagement model. So we have to be, and technology is the perfect way to capturing this three phases together. And so I am going to, so all the teachers that work with me, we engage them in something called a lesson study. It's a Japanese model where teachers come together at the end of the workshop and then they create a lesson, and that lesson is delivered in the classroom. I see some people have engaged in lesson studies, and we observe, it's not an evaluation of the teacher, but it's the evaluation of the lesson plan that you came up with collaboratively. If something is not working, then we go back and fix the lesson plan. So this is called lesson study. We implement close to 50 lesson studies. I work with 10 different school districts in Northern Virginia. So, and finish with this story. This is a high school teacher workshop that I was engaging them in. So here is an accelerometer that my graduate students made. As the teachers are coming in, they're given a technology. Technology is an oscilloscope, and this is STEM for high school teachers. And the first thing I ask them, these are all math teachers, I ask them to do is, ask them to put first of all the teachers are asking, am I in the right room? I mean, why are there these tools thingamajigs here? And I said, yeah, this is the math workshop, please come on in. And so once they settle in, I ask them to put the accelerometer to their throat. The accelerometer is connected to by the way, if you didn't know, every cell phone is an accelerometer. And as Sean was saying, people know where you are at any time, okay? The accelerometer tells you the X, Y, Z, and T, the fourth coordinate in time. Okay, so essentially these accelerometers. So I asked the teachers to hum. First, the teachers are apprehensive. They're like, "What? Why is this guy asking me to sing?" Okay, so but then I asked the high school teachers to hum, and then they realize the hum becomes waves, and you can see the waves in the oscilloscope. They get excited, and then essentially I say, "What are we trying to do here?" Well, we're trying to actually teach you. I want to ask them, "How do you teach this in your classroom?" They say, "Oh, in pre-calculus, I write down this equation, and then there is these steps. To find A, take the maximum data, take the minimum data, add them, divide by 2. To find B, the vertical shift, take the maximum data, take the minimum data, subtract, divide by 2. So we're teaching them procedures because the textbook is telling us that way. What if I give you a meaning for understanding what the amplitude is, what's the vertical shift, what's the frequency, all these things? So I asked the teachers to play with for some time, and I've never seen a group of math teachers singing so well. And so then I asked them to step out, and then they come back after the break, and then I have a picture on the screen, a big graph. And then I say, give them the challenge, sing like the graph. And then they're saying, wait a minute, right? I say, how do I do that? What's the amplitude? I said, figure it out. So now they have to really modulate long, length, high. They have to really understand the pitch and all that stuff. So it's technology enhancing their learning, actually. And they kind of figure out, and this is basically what you do. You fit A, B, C, and all this stuff, but you use just a calculator to do it, but this is much more different, right? But why do we expose teachers to this? Well, then we bring a wheelchair that's made at Mason, created at Mason, because there was a paraplegic who's been coming to Mason every single day, and all he wants is to walk on himself. His limbs don't work. So one fine day he sits behind a graduate student, and he notices the graduate student starting to play a car race. So far this kid never talked. He sees the car race, and then all of a sudden he starts to hum. He starts to go, just like the car. The graduate student gets an idea, he comes to the faculty, to us, and says, we got it. We know exactly how to move his chair. So we just have to program the equation into his chair. All he has to do is move it himself by humming. Talk about STEM. in action. So if he humps too much, he will go bang in the wall, but he just needs to control how he's moving it, but talk about STEM in real world. So next time when you're teaching this equation, please start with the wheelchair, is what we say to the teachers, okay? I will stop here. Thank you.